Hello, my dear followers. Today we have an unusual story. We're going to watch and listen to how the Avengers turned into babies. So subscribe, like, and watch the video to the end. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. The story begins after the events of the movie Avengers: Infinity War. After Thanos destroyed half of all life in the galaxy, the Avengers were forced to gather with the remaining survivors to try to restore the world. Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Thanos, Ant-Man, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Loki, Spider-Man, Blue Beast, Venom, Red Skull, and Wasp worked together to try to find a solution. But they found more than just a solution. During one of their efforts, they came across a large dugout on the outskirts of the city. When they got closer, they noticed that inside the dugout was a strange house placed in the middle. The Avengers were curious and decided to explore it. After they went through the door, they noticed that there was a strange artifact inside. It was a strange mechanism that was created based on a secret technology they had never heard of before. Each of them began to examine the artifact from different angles, trying to solve it and understand how it worked. However, during their research, they noticed that a strange gas was coming out of the artifact. This gas seemed harmless, but they noticed that it was easy to breathe. Later, they noticed that their bodies began to change strangely. The transformation process began. Captain America turned into a little baby, Thor turned into a little boy, Hulk turned into a green baby, Thanos turned into a little boy with golden skin, Ant-Man turned into a little boy, Iron Man turned into a little boy with iron armor, Black Widow turned into a little girl, and Hawkeye turned into a little girl with eagle wings, Loki, a little baby, Spider-Man, a little girl with spiderweb powers, Blue Beast, a little boy with blue fur, Venom, a little baby with black goo, Red Skull, a little boy with red skin, and Wasp Woman, a little girl with a yellow and black eye on her skin. The Avengers were shocked by what had happened to them and could not believe that they had turned into children. They realized that they needed to find ways to return to their normal forms. They remembered what had happened in the dugout and realized that the reason for their transformation was related to this artifact. They began to study the mechanism again, but this time as children. They realized that in order to return to their normal forms, they needed to open the mechanism with a special code that matched their new forms. They found the code, and one by one, they began to return to their usual forms. However, when the Wasp Woman returned to her usual form, she noticed something strange. She felt that her thinking, feelings, and emotions had changed. They had become more childlike and naive. She couldn't understand what had happened to her. Gradually, all the Avengers returned to their normal forms, but they noticed that their abilities were significantly weakened after the transformation. Captain America could no longer withstand heavy weights, Thor no longer had access to his magic, the Hulk could no longer control his green powers, Ant-Man was no longer as maneuverable as before, Iron Man could no longer increase his strength, and Black Widow was no longer as agile as before. The Avengers were shocked that they had lost their powers and began to investigate the reasons why. They realized that their powers were related to their usual forms and thinking, but after the transformation, they became more childish and naive, and this led to the loss of their abilities. The Avengers decided that they needed to find a way to get their powers back, but it wouldn't be easy. They realized that they needed to return to their normal forms, but they didn't know how to do it. Although they were comforted when they realized that the mechanism of the single dugout was safe, they realized that they needed to find a way to return to their normal forms. They realized that their abilities were granted to them by the incredible power they had gained during their exploits and fight against evil. So they decided that they needed to return to themselves, to their roots, to their mission. The Avengers remembered how they once started their fight for good, how they changed the world for the better, how they risked their lives to protect humanity from evil. And they realized that in order to return to their former forms, they needed to find strength in their mission. The Avengers got together and started fighting evil again. They saw their powers slowly returning to them as they gave their lives for good. That was the story today. Thank you friends for watching. Subscribe and like us so you don't miss new interesting videos.